Jai Hind everyone. Myself Amrita Tiwari, Assistant Professor, Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College. So today's my topic is Functional Unit of Computer System and Bus.
So firstly we will see what are the outlines of my PPT. Functional unit of computer system, introduction of buses, different types of buses, bus architecture and bus arbitration. So firstly we will see what is bus functional unit of computer system. So firstly we will define what is functional units. So functional components help to complete the functional cycle. What is functional cycle? The process in which we have input, processing unit and output. So we will say the functional unit of computer system are input unit, output unit, processor, memory and system bus. This is a diagram, systematic diagram of how they are all connected. Input unit, from which we will send a data to central processing unit, from where the central processing unit will process the data which we have sent. Then this will be stored in the memory, which is a secondary memory and a primary memory. Then if we want to have output of that data, we will head with the output units. So all are interconnected with each other. So how all are interconnected with each other? With the help of system bus, which we see further PPT. So what is input unit? As we know, input units are used to read the data. The user which sends the data to the computer for processing or for doing some task is known as input unit. So as we know, the computer is uses the machine languages. So it converts our input data into 0 and 1. That is understood by the machine. Output unit, it gives the processed information, the data which is processed by the computer in the with the help of CPU is given to us by the help of output unit. So output unit means the data which is processed in a binary form. So the output unit will convert into the form that human can understand. As we further see that data is converted into zeros and one, so the output unit will first convert it into the language that human can understand and give us an output. What is memory? Memory, it is referred to as storage area in which data is kept. The memory unit thus provides space to the input data, intermediate result and the final output generated. There are basically two types of memory, primary memory and secondary memory. What we call a primary memory? Primary memory means it is an internal storage that is used by the generally CPU. It is volatile in nature, means when we process the data, it will stay in primary memory only when if the power is off, the data which is kept in the primary memory, it will be erased. So for a permanent storage, we use the concept of secondary memory. In primary memory, what are two types of primary memory? RAM and ROM. Next is processor. What is processor? It is the most important part of a computer, as it performs all the processings of the computer. It processes data, instruction which user gives. So the major parts of the processor is ALU, control unit and register. In the previous slide, we have seen the control processing unit. What is the function of ALU? Arithmetic and logical units. It means it performs a mathematical calculation, mathematical as well as logical calculation. Control unit, it organizes the data which is being inserted by the input unit, and how the processing is done, it is all will be checked by the control unit. What are the registers? it is a temporary data storage in the CPU. When we are processing a data, we need sometimes we need a space during the processing to store some data. That's why we use the concept of registers. So this is the bus architecture. As you can see, all the functional components, that is CPU, memory and input and output units, are connected by the system bus. It is a what is system bus? It is a fifth component of our computer system. So what is a system bus? It connects all the CPU, memory and input output devices to each other for the communication. If we want to communicate between the CPU and memory, we can do with the help of system bus. System bus are categorized into three buses, that is control bus, address bus and data bus. So firstly we should understand what is bus. So bus is a communication pathway connecting two or more devices. A main characteristics of bus is that it is used to share transition medium. Bus may be serial or parallel. What do you mean by serial and parallel? In serial, it means all the data is simultaneously will be communicated between the two devices, and in serial, bit by bit will be done. Example, if we take two devices A and B and we want to transfer data with the help of serial, so number of input and output, the process will be done simultaneously, whereas in serial, if we want to transfer 0, 1, 0, it will first transfer 0, then it will transfer 1, then it will transfer 0. So this is the concept of serial and parallel buses. As we can see in the definition, a parallel bus is a communication method that transmits multiple bits of data simultaneously using multiple wires or channels, whereas in serial bus, on the other hand, is a communication method that transmits data sequentially, one bit at a time, which we have seen here, one bit at a time over a single wire or a channel. So next we have a point, a bus that connects a major components. We connect a major component, that is CPU, memory, input output devices of a computer system, is called a system bus. As we seen in a previous image, in a previous slide, what is bus? System bus that connects CPU, memory and input output devices with the buses. Now we will understand what is control bus, what is address bus, what is data bus, what are their functions. So data bus, as we say the word data, what do you mean by data? The data bus is a bidirectional pathway that carries the actual data or information, we can say, to and from the memory. So its work is to transmit the data from one device to another. What is the function of control bus? The control bus carries control or timing signals needed to coordinate the activities of the entire computer. Think it is like a traffic cop. What the traffic cop do? It will stop one passage and say that another passage will do traveling for 10 seconds. Then it will stop it and start the another. So that is a function of the control bus. It's control the timings signals for the devices to communicate between each other, communicate with each other. What is address bus? Address bus is a unidirectional pathway. You should focus on unidirectional. Control bus and data bus are the bidirectional, whereas address bus is a unidirectional pathway that allow information to travel in only one direction, that carries about where the data will be stored in a memory. So the address bus we have seen, it is a unidirectional in nature, whereas control bus and data bus is bidirectional in nature. Why we say unidirectional in nature? Because it's only contain the address. As we know, address bus, it contain only the address of the data, particular data which we want to travel, and it data address will be given by the MPU, which MPU means microprocessing unit. Now, features of bus. There are two most important features of the buses. That is, the amount of information that can be transmitted at once is defined by width, whereas the bus speed, which is defined by frequency. What is this frequency? Means the number of data units sent or received per second. Each time the data is sent or received is called cycle. Means the amount of information that can be transmitted at once from A. If A and B is communicating, so amount of data A is giving to B at once is known as width, whereas the speed bus is defined by the frequency, means the amount of data received by B or sent by the A is in per second is known as frequency. So from these two terms we can calculate the maximum transfer speed of the bus, that is the amount of data which can be transported per unit of time, that is width into frequency. As we can see, there comes some examples. Sometimes example come, we have given the width of the bus or devices and the frequency we have given in how much time the cycle is completed, and we have to calculate the maximum transfer speed of the bus. So the maximum transfer speed of the bus will be calculated with the help of width into frequency. Example is something is there. We have taken the 16 as a width and frequency is 133 megahertz. So from this, by calculating, by multiplying the both, we have gained this. This is the maximum transfer speed of the bus. Now we come from the most important part, most important topic of the bus is bus arbitration. So what is bus arbitration? For understanding the bus arbitration, we should understand bus arbiter. What is bus arbiter? So the bus arbiter is the one who decides who will become the current master. And what is bus master? A device that initiates the transfer on a bus at a given time. You must be confused why we are what is the concept of bus master and bus device. Suppose the number of devices, there is A, there is B, there is C, there are n number of devices, and all are want to communicate with the CPU. So who will decide which device will transfer first? Who will decide? It is then there comes a concept of bus arbitration. So it is we can say a upper unit above the bus, that is bus arbiter, which decide from among these devices which will become the bus master, and which become, suppose A become the bus master, then it's duty of A that communicate with the CPU. It will become the bus master, then the data transfer will be begun with in between the CPU and the A, and the rest have to wait for its chances. So now you can understand what is from this you can understand what is the bus arbitration. So bus arbitration is a process by which next device to become a bus master and a mastership bus mastership is transferred to it. And the selection of master bus is done on the priority basis. We will see this further in further slides, what is meaning by the priority basis. So, bus arbitration is a process in which the devices will the bus arbiter will decide who will become the bus master, and the device which become the bus master will give the bus mastership, and he will only the one device that will communicate its data or whatever he wants to do a task with the help of buses. And the selection of the master bus is done by the priority basis. So, there are two types of bus arbitration, centralized and distributed. So, what do you mean by centralized? Centralized means there is some upper authority while choosing the bus masters. So, as we can there is there will be a one controller which will choose among the different devices who will be the bus master and continue its transfer. Whereas in distributed, there is no upper unit, no central unit. All the devices will mutually decide, will communicate with each other and decide who wants to become the bus master and continue its transfer. In centralized master bus, there are three types of bus arbitration: daisy chaining method, polling or rotating method, independent or requesting method. So, what is we will understand what is daisy chaining, polling or rotating method, and independent requesting method. So, it is a model or a figure of a daisy chaining method, where it is a bus controller, or we can say a bus arbiter, who there is a one bus grant line, there is one bus request line, and there is one bus busy line. There are n number of devices connected with the these lines, device 1, device 2 and up to say device n. So, the controller will decide from among those which we want to which he wants to make a master. So, he will firstly check if the line is busy or not. If the line is busy or not. If the line is not busy, then the controller will grant a mastership to one of the among devices. How he will do? In daisy chaining, the devices which are connected near to the controller is given a priority. Is given the priority means the master 1 will be given a mastership. It will become a bus master. It will become a bus master. How will it become? Firstly, it check if it is if the line is not busy, or the bus master line is not busy and the master 1 is free. So, if he wants to communicate, so he will ask if you want to communicate. If he say yes, so it will be given a bus grant. The bus grant will be given. Bus grant is given, then the line will become a bus busy. Now, the other devices will have to wait for its chances. When the bus master done its job, have done his job, then it will give an it will acknowledge the bus controller that my work is done. Now it will free the bus busy line. Then the next master will be called and asked if you want to be a bus master. If he say yes, then it will be given a mastership, or it will, if he doesn't want, the bus mastership will be given to another devices, it will be asked. So, in this, the devices are connected in a chaining, as the topic is daisy chaining. So, all the masters are connected in a chain method. That's why we call this a daisy chaining method. So we will understand by this what is daisy chaining method. It is a simple or a cheaper method. It is one of the most simplest method in the bus arbitration. All the masters use the same line for the bus. As we see, they all use the same line. There is no different line. All the masters are connected to same line. There is no other line. All are connected to the same line. In response to bus request, the controller send the bus grant if the bus is free. As we know, if the bus is free, then the bus requested by the devices, then the bus grant will be given by the controller. What are the advantages? It is a very simpler way. It is very simpler way to use the bus arbitration because the number of lines are very less and it is easier to understand. But the disadvantage is it is slower. If there are hundreds of devices, it will become a bit slower to come up to the 100 devices. Cannot assume fairness and fault tolerance. What do you mean by cannot assume fairness and fault tolerance? Means if device 2 wants, it's in a priority, its work is very important, but it is in the second position, and device 1 have a less priority work, but the grant will be given to master 1 only. This is a fairness. He have to wait for its chance. That's unfairness. And what is fault tolerance? Fault tolerance means if the device 1 is failed, sometimes the device 1 is failed, so they all are connected in a chain method. So if they are connected in a chain method, if device 1 is failed, the other will never get their chance. This concept will come in a deadlock position. There will be no fault tolerance. That's a very big disadvantage of daisy chaining method. Further, that second is now polling or rotating method. In what is polling and rotating method? In this, we have 3 polling lines. We have 3 polling lines and 1 bus request and 1 is bus busy line. Why we using the 3 polling line? It contains the address of the all the devices which are connected with this bus busy or bus request line. It contains the addresses of the all devices, and bus controller will, what will he do? He will, and what is the it contains the address of the contain the address of the devices. Though what are the address of the devices is the ID of the particular devices, which we define by the address. They are their particular IDs. So bus controller will randomly call for the ID. If suppose he calls for 010 and the address and ID of master 1 is 010, then the bus controller will call 010, then the mastership will be given to the bus master. The bus master will be activated that it's my ID. It's my ID. So he will request for the bus request, and the controller will acknowledge him with the bus mastership. So he will perform its task. Similarly, if the master device 2 is 111 and the controller call for the 111 address, so the device 2 will become the master. So we can say that in this the controller is used to generate the addresses for the master, and the number of address line requires depend on the number of masters connected in the system. In response to a bus request, the controller generates a sequence of the master bus. When the request is recognized its addresses, it activates the bus line and begins to use the bus. So, what is the advantage of the polling method? It is dynamic priority is possible. So, here we have seen dynamically the controller is choosing the bus master who will become the bus master. So, there is in previous daisy chain, only first he will be bus master, then he will be no. In independent, anyone can become a bus master. Anyone can become the bus master. If one device is the fail, the entire system will not be affected. It is it means it will overcome the disadvantage of the daisy chain method. What is the disadvantage of its? Extra pole line is required. As we see, there are 3 extra pole lines are required. If there are suppose 8, we require 3 lines. If there are 4, we need maximum 2 lines, because it will communicate with the in the form of 2 raised to power n. So, polling is delayed. As the number of polling lines increases, though the polling will be delayed. The addresses will be increased, so the polling will be delayed. Third is independent method. In this, every devices which are connected having its own bus grant line and bus request line. Bus request to bus grant 2, bus grant n up to n devices. Everyone have their own bus request and bus grant lines. So, controller will choose? Controller will choose with the help of inbuilt priority decoder. With the help of inbuilt priority decoder, it will choose among these devices who will become the bus master. Every devices will send their request to the controller. Every devices will request for the controller. So, and the controller's duty is to, with the help of inbuilt priority decoder, it will grant request of among devices randomly, devices who will become the bus master. If it gets a bus mastership, then the bus will become busy. So, in this scheme, each master has a separate bus request and bus grant line, and each pair has a priority assigned to it. It has inbuilt priority decoder which select the highest priority list request and assert the bus grant signal. So, what is the advantage of it? It is very fast and dynamic, because every device has its own bus request and bus grant lines. But as there are n number of devices, so the cost will become high, because there will be the n number of control lines. This is the only disadvantage of it. Otherwise, it is very fast and dynamic in use. Now we see what is distributed bus arbitration. So, as we know, in distributed bus arbitration, there is no upper authority, no controller, as in centralized bus arbitration. All the devices in the selection will participate, and for the next bus master. If suppose there is A, B, C and D, they all will communicate with each other and decide who will become the bus master. Suppose for mutually decide, B will become the bus master, then they mutually decide it will do its work, and then other 3 will decide who will become. So, according to their mutual decision, the bus mastership will be given to a particular device. That's all for today. Thank you.